Good morning, I'm Brigid Washington, chef and cookbook author. Here at the Diner Igor Teaching and Research Kitchen at NC State, we are making a late summer succotash. For this succotash, we will be using some yellow squash to give the succotash all the density and heft. So let's get started. The thing is, succotash is originally and traditionally made using lima beans and bacon. However, we are mixing both of those ingredients and instead using, like I said, the yellow squash and chickpeas. To get the smokiness from the bacon that we're not using in this vegetarian adaptation, we're going to get that smokiness from ground paprika. So here we have our squash. And coming to the end of the summer, you want to look for a squash in the store or in the farmer's market that's heavy in relation to size. It should be firm and smooth with no noticeable dents or bruises. There might be a noticeable field spot, and that's where it grew naturally in the field. In addition, this should be very firm to the touch. When you cut open your yellow squash or green squash or zucchini, it should look something like this. The seeds should be densely packed together, and although it's firm on the outside, the inside is a little bit pillowy and soft, and that is a ripeness and freshness indicator. So that is our squash, and now let's get started with our recipe. So over medium heat, we are going to first saute our aromatics. So here we have some olive oil. We're just going to get that warmed up. And next goes in some white onion. Let's get the rest of that out. Followed by some minced fresh garlic. This is always, these three, the trifecta of anything good. Just going to saute these up. And while this is sauteing, we are going to chop our squash, and we're also going to pull the kernels off of this corn. Now, we're doing this, you could use canned corn, but again, coming towards the end of the summer, fresh corn is still so delicious, so sweet, and so crunchy. So we're gonna pull the kernels off the corn. We're just gonna slice our knife, the kernels off our knife like this. And you could really hear how crunchy they are. And the reason I like doing this is not only do you get that authentic sweetness that comes from fresh corn, but you also end up with this husk, which is absolutely a brilliant ingredient when coming into the cooler months, end of September, October, November, and you're making stocks and stews. Plop this into, if you're cooking a pasta water, it gives it sweetness and also richness. So this, don't throw away this husk. It's really important. So we have just removed our corn. This is sauteing up nicely. Now we are going to add some scallions, and some fresh scallions gives it some really nice grassy cleanness. And while that keeps sauteing, we are going to now chop our squash. And so here I have it quartered. So again, you can see the seeds and a nice, firmly packed interior. And we're just going to run our knife through this. And you don't have to worry too much about size because squash has such a high water content, and that's part of the nutritional value of squash that I treasure the most. It is very high in water, and because of that, it helps regulate your blood sugar as well as digestion, aids in digestion. Squash is also very high in vitamin A and C, and that not only wards away colds, but keeps you healthy. And if that wasn't enough, it's also very high in fiber. And fiber, as you know, keeps you full. So although this is like a wholly vegetarian meal, it boasts so many ingredients that are filling and satisfying. So we could really smell our aromatics. And next, we're going to get all of this corn and squash into the pan and get that cooking. In it goes. And we're going to give this a good stir. And then we're going to add a touch of salt. And the reason we're adding salt during the cooking process is because it will naturally help to extract some of the water that is inherent into the squash. So now we're going to cover. We're just going to let this do its thing. So it's been about 3 minutes, and we are going to check on our squash and corn. And as you can see, it is soft. The size of the kernels of the corn has significantly reduced, and that's exactly what you want. The onions are translucent, so now it's time to build the rest of the succotash and finish it off. So next thing we're adding are some cherry tomatoes, which even in September, they are still absolutely delicious and so fantastic. Bursting in sweetness, acidity, vitamin C, just so essential. And plus, look at it, it's gorgeous. No one hung back there. So we are going to stir this in. And you do not have to cook the tomatoes for that long. I think what's important is like really getting that good crunch. Same goes with our garbanzo beans. These little packs of protein power. At least that's what I tell my children. I get excited about garbanzo beans. And so with the addition of the garbanzo beans, you really do get a nice full complete meal. Like you don't need another starch or any type of meat. This here in this one pot, that is everything. Now we're going to season it up some more with some final ingredients. The juice of a lemon draws out all of the sweetness and adds a nice finish, nice acidic finish to it. The reason why I like adding lemon juice to the end of meals like this is it just adds the perfect finishing touch of acidity and pucker. So in it you go, and I squeeze it upside down, catching the seeds in my hand. So that way you don't need a fancy juicer, just your hands will do. In it goes. All of those seeds trapped in there. Next, we are going to add half a teaspoon of some smoked sweet paprika. And like I said earlier, we omitted the bacon, and you don't need the bacon because in the paprika you have all of that smoky sweetness without any of the guilt. So in that goes, and stir that around. And you could really smell all of the ingredients coming together. Next, we're going to add some black pepper. Finish it up with some more salt. Just a tiny bit, because remember, we already added salt when we added our squash, sorry. So just finish it off with a little bit more salt. And you can see it is smooth. All the vegetables have cooked down. It's rendered this beautifully pinkish hued sauce. And to finish, we have some basil. Now, I just like to tear this because it's easier, and it's okay if you don't have perfect cut basil pieces. Hand-torn basil does just fine. And this is about 8 to 10 leaves. So not too much, just enough to get that signature basil taste, that grassiness, the sweetness. And there you have it. Our end of summer squash succotash. And now, we're just going to plate it. Move this over. And in it goes. And there's that beautiful sauce we talked about earlier. And there we have it. A full meal in minutes using some of summer's closing final ingredients. A perfect meal to bridge you from summer to fall.